Hey pumpkins! It's been a while, but now we have reached October, the month of crunchy crunchy leaves and Halloween and then big scarf and all of these things, except it's currently very sunny outside. But in the spirit of October, I thought I would look at September and talk about some of my favourite things from that month.
Dooby 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 doo. Dooby 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 Sophie Vlogs.
My first favourite thing that I want to talk about is a podcast. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts at work because I do my own podcast with my friend, and I'm trying to get a better sense of like what a good podcast sounds like, because we're very much stumbling our way through it at the moment. So one that I've been particularly enjoying is Harry Potter and the Sacred Text. I found it because the wonderful people at Which Please, who if you are not listening to, they are like my podcast goal. But they tweeted about them, and essentially it's these two people, and they've worked their way through so far the first Harry Potter book, and they approach it the way that you would approach a sacred text. So I didn't know anything about any of this, but they're using different methods that you use to contemplate upon sacred texts to look at Harry Potter through those lenses. So each week they pick a theme to talk about like that chapter with, and then they do a sacred practice, and then they apply it to the Harry Potter text, which is so interesting, not just as someone who loves Harry Potter, because you get this analysis of this book that you love, but also because I'm learning about these practices that I know nothing about, and that's just super fantastic and interesting. So if you're interested in Harry Potter, or you like podcasts, I would super duper check that out. I also want to talk about two books. I am planning on probably longer, full-length reviews of both of these soon. Life's been happening, I've been a bit busy. I'll probably do like a little like life update video soon to explain like I haven't been uploading regularly because things happened. But two books that I read in September that I loved. One is Sue Perkins' memoir called Spectacles, which I love the cover design. I think it's really cute and well done. Obviously I like Bake Off. I'm a Bake Off fan. Sue is a delight, and, you know, Mel and Sue's little comedy style I very much enjoy. And the book was actually lent to me by someone who knows I like Bake Off and was like, maybe you'll like it. And it is just an absolute delight. Because of the amount of Bake Off consumed in my life, I did have Sue's voice and her inflections and her way of saying it just the entire time I was reading it. And if you're a fan of audiobooks, she has actually read it herself, which I imagine would be really interesting to hear. So it's very delightful, very light and lovely, but at the same time there were moments in it which just hit me. Like, she doesn't shy away from talking about times when she's messed up, or times when, like, really hard stuff has happened. I read most of it on a train on a journey up to Manchester, and there's a moment when she writes a letter to her dog who passed away. I've never owned a dog. I don't have a pet. I was like tearing up on this train in public, and I was like, Sophie, you cannot cry about a dog that you've never met on a train in public. And I didn't, but I very nearly did. So, even if you don't really know anything about Sue Perkins, I didn't know anything about Sue Perkins until I read this, and it was great. So, that was good. The second book is The Watchmaker of Filigree Street, which was in a haul that I've done, but I don't know if it's one I've posted yet or not, because there's a little backlog. I didn't want to give you all, like, 6 solid weeks of just hauls, so I'm kind of saving them until I've had time to do other things. But, so this might be the wrong way round, but loved this. Beautiful, but also the inside is as good as the outside. And the outside tells you about the inside once you're clued up enough to be able to read all the different elements. I will probably have to do a spoiler review of this, because I went in with no knowledge, and the stuff I loved was stuff that I didn't even realise would be a theme in the book, or like an aspect of the book. So I haven't quite figured out how to talk about it in a non-spoilery fashion yet, but it was fantastic, and I really, really loved it. It was so good. Following on from that, I have two, like, visual watchy thing recommendations, which was a weird way of saying a film and a TV series. If you have Netflix, The Little Prince was released on Netflix fairly recently. I don't know when. Oh, it was wonderful. It was fantastic. It was just, I've never read the book. It's like a cultural thing. I've never read it. I don't know if it's like the exact same story in the book, but it was just fabulous. I really loved it. Obviously it's animated, but then you have like the old man who's telling the story of the little prince to the little girl, and when it's telling the story of the little prince, it goes into this beautiful animation style, which is almost like stop motion, like paper stuff. I'm not an animator, but it was visually so beautiful. I was just so taken by it. I usually like to multitask when I watch things because I always feel like I need to be like doing all the things. But with this one I just had to sit and just like view it because it was so pretty. The TV recommendation is also available on Netflix. It's Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, which again, like, from a visual standpoint, I would recommend this show based purely on the costumes that she wears alone. The wardrobe department, like, hats off to you guys. You're incredible, and I love you. It's set in the 20s in Australia. Miss Fisher is like a young Australian woman who has like some form of like slightly dark thing that happened in her past. I can't be more specific than that because I haven't found it out yet. Very early on. But she returns to Australia after some time away, and then like a murder happens, and she like helps the police with the thing and is like, actually I'm a pretty good detective. And so she like becomes like a detective. So obviously 20s, the fashion, the style, it's all 20s gorgeosity. It's just so beautiful. But as well as that, like the murders and the mysteries are really engaging. They're those type of mysteries which I feel like you need to have if you're doing something murder mystery related, where it's complex enough that as it's unfolding, you're not like, oh god, I already saw this coming, blah blah blah. But there's enough hints and stuff that if you were to really be like, oh, I'm going to sleuth it out, you could probably be like, I think it's this guy because of this. For the first time ever on this channel, I'm going to give a game recommendation, because I don't normally play games because I'm rubbish. However, I have been playing Beyond Two Souls, which had Ellen Page is the main character. She did like a year of wearing all those bubbles on like a suit. But the thing where they're like, oh look, it's you, but it's not you. That. It's good. It's got, essentially, I like it because you can say at the beginning of it, I don't play games often. And then it's slightly like, not, you do all the same things, but I think what you have to do to do all the actions is slightly less complex, which I really appreciate. But it's really cool. You go through, you're the main, Ellen Page is Jodie, and she has Aiden, who is like a spirit who's like attached to her, who only she can see, obviously, and you jump through different points in her life, so it's not like a chronological story, you have different points, and it's almost like a movie. Like, you have these long movie sequences, which then you have to do things, and it's one of those ones where what you do affects the outcome of what happens. So at the end of each level, you can see, like, oh, you took this route, you can't see what the other route was, but you know that, like, that was the turning point, which if you'd done something differently, you might have had a different outcome. It's super great. I'm really enjoying it. Jodie has, like, she really reminds me a little bit of Eleven from Stranger Things, which is also something I've been loving. But, yeah, I'm still working my way through it. I haven't completed it yet, but it's really enjoyable. So if you're also, like, kind of like games, but you're rubbish, then like it's a good way in. Or if you play games, you can play it on the normal setting and just do that. I would also like to recommend a web series, and that is Carmilla, which I've recommended before, but season 3 is currently airing, and if I'm correct, and I think I am, this is going to be the final season, and they've planned as such, so I'm assuming the plot is going to be nicely rounded, but they're releasing it in parts. So we've had the first part was released, and then you had to wait, and then the second part has been released, and I've just finished watching it, and now, October the 13th, part 3 is going to come out, and I need to know what happens. It's like there's a slight like Buffy season 5 feel to it, which I think is probably a conscious. I don't think they're just writing this plot and it's like, oops. I think there's like a conscious little nod there, but they're doing it slightly differently, which I just really can't wait to see where it goes, to be honest. All of the acting is fantastic. I love the entire cast. They're just great. So yeah, if you like vampires, if you like Buffy, if you like a web series about lesbian vampires, it's great. And finally, I'm going to end on two little song recommendations, which I will hopefully link here and here next to my face. Number one is the most recent cover that Lou Fox has done, who is a musician who posts his stuff on YouTube, and he did a cover of Disclosure's Omen, which I've never actually heard the original. I've only heard his cover because it's so fucking good. Like, he does a lot of ukulele covers, which I also like, but he's been doing, he did that, and he did, I think it was a Jason Derulo song or something fairly recently that are slightly more produced, and I am into it. It's a great sound. And then, final one is Way Back Home by Prince, which, oh my god, Prince, still just musical tragedy that he's gone. He's just the most incredible. It's a song from, I want to say it was his last album, but I'm still working my way through the discography, so I could be wrong. One of his most recent ones though. And it just, for some reason, well, not for some reason, the album as a whole has elements of this, but this song in particular just really gives me this visual story of Prince as a spaceman trying to come back to Earth, because it's all about finding the way back home and blah blah blah. But just something about the overall feel of it just makes me want this music video where Prince is a concept piece where he's stranded in space and he's trying to come back home, and essentially I want Prince in Farscape for the length of the music video, I think. Okay, I'm gonna call it a day there, because the negative side of not filming videos in a month is that you don't charge your camera in a month, and then when you have a really limited time period to film in, your camera has no battery. So, those are just the key things that I've been really, really enjoying in September. I would love to hear what you really enjoyed in September, or if there's anything in the upcoming October, other than Halloween, because yes. But if there's anything in the coming months that you're really excited for, or anything, just tell me. That'd be great. Yeah, I hope everything is fantastic with you. These are not going to be weekly. These have not been weekly for a while, but life got stuff happened. So you're just going to get me as and when. I'm going to try and do as many things as possible. If you want a little bit more of me in your lives, I am doing a monthly podcast with my friend, which I've mentioned at the start of this video and previously, but I will include a link below, because that, at least, I'm not in charge of editing it, so it goes up quite regularly. So yeah, I hope everything is fantastic with you. Do tell me about your September and what your October holds, and I'll see you next time I post something.